Okay, so yesterday we looked at these string manipulation methods. Yes, I think, and we demonstrated a few of them. Looked at how splits works, looked at the parameters in splits, the compulsion ones, and then the optional parameters. And looked at substring. And then I sent you guys a link for where you can get other methods which you could use that are not, or that have not been covered in yesterday's class and in this PDF in general. So something that I think, or something that you should all look at, because it can make our journey or the process of data manipulation. It makes it much easier when you have something you can check against when you are trying to perform same processes. Let's continue with where we stopped. You stopped at substring. And right now we're looking at the activities which we can also use to manipulate strings and modify strings to suit any need we have, any need we might require. So we're looking at two of these activities, looking at the modified text activity and then text to left/right activity. The modified text activity allows us to update a text value by modifying it. So we can do things like find and replace. We can hit a substring or a character within a text or a string, and then replace that character with something else we want. We can trim. By trim, I mean erase white space. So all those spaces at the end of the string, be it at the left or at the beginning or at the end, rather. You can choose to trim those spaces. You can choose to, you can also perform concatenation, which is joining two individual strings together. And then convert text to uppercase and lowercase. So it's more or less a amalgamation of some methods which we saw earlier. So it's an activity rather that allows us to easily perform the function or the methods that we saw earlier, like join, replace, and concat. Remember from yesterday's class how we would use those methods in our assign statements. And now we can also use these methods in an activity. And once I open my UiPath Studio, I'll just give a brief demonstration. That's easy to solve. How to perform a quick example. We can see how the activity works. But now wait for that to open. Let's also look at the text to left/right activity. The text to left/right retrieves the text the left or right of the first occurrence of the indicated subtext. That is, it goes into a string and then looks for a, well, let's say a separator or an item or a specific character in the string, and then allows us to extract the rest of the string, which is located to the left and or to the right of the separator. Okay, I'm still waiting for this to come on so we can demonstrate it. And I hope you guys are also, for those who don't have their studio open, opening your studio using the same opportunity to open studio. So we can build the process together, or you can build after you have seen I did. So now that we have our studio open our main workflow and use a modify text activity. So get modify text. And then in this, you can see some fields. You have a text to modify field, which is where we enter the text we want to make changes to. Enter text like and RPA. Enter that my text, and then we can save our result to a variable here. So we can add in our variable. Let's call it output, which should be of type string. And then let's display our output again. The message box. We can see what exactly has happened in the code output. Okay, now if you remember, I said we could do 4 things. We could find and replace, combine text, trim, and convert the text to either upper or lowercase. Looking at the find and replace text. Let's try to replace all the A's with B's. So we can search for A and then replace A with B. Now, let's have the extra option of matching case. So where we want to only replace capital letter A or small letter A, we have that option, and we do that by enabling match case. So if we use match case in this example, we would only replace small letter A's, which is just this A here. While if we turn it off, we would replace all the A's in the initial string. Now let's run it and see our output. So you can see now on my screen that where we had automation automation and RPA, we now have all the A's basically switched to its B's. So that is how that would work. Let's look at other things like combining text. Now we can choose to add more text. Automation and RPA can now add is future, and that should concatenate this string also to the initial string is the future. We can also choose to assign what part of the string we want to concatenate our text. So on the left means you want to place this new string at the left position of this, or on the right means you want to place it at the right, at the left position of this, which is here, and at the right, which is at the end. So let's use right in this case. And then we can run it again and see what that would look like. We can see that now we have concatenated the new string is the future to the former string automation and RPA. Next, we have the trim.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Can we put variable in place of those strings? Like
yes, we can put variables if we have variables there. Variables of type string. So we can do that. And yes. So let's even look at how that would work too. So thank you for that suggestion, Benga. So we can decide to add text in the form of a variable. So let's create another variable. Additional text. And then give that a value. The value is the future. Yeah, put some extra white space there to see how the trim.
So you're having the variable as output. Output is your result now. Why not create a new variable?
No, I have two variables now. Output and additional text. Output is what we are printing to the screen.
Okay, it's additional
text. Additional text is what what we are adding. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can see.
Now we have this in the picture with some white space at the end. Okay. If we choose to trim right, let's trim at the right because our white spaces are the right of everything. Trim right, and then run our file again. See the text without the white space, even though okay, you probably cannot see exactly what the difference is. So let's run it again now, this time without trim and see what that will look like. We can see if we indeed cleared the white space, which have been at the end. You can see that the box is actually bigger now. So that it's showing that there is something here, some extra white space that is taking up on character space on the screen. So you can see that indeed the trim option erases white space from either the left or the right side of a string. And we also, I mean, if you have looked at that link I sent yesterday, you will notice that there is also a trim method that we could have used to do this same action, but then this activity just combines everything into one space, allows us to perform those same those same modifications without using code, without typing code. Lastly, we have text to uppercase or lowercase. We can choose to change our text to uppercase now. In that case, everything we would output will be in all caps. And now, as you can see, we have automation and RPA is the future in all capital letters. So that's the rundown of how this modified text activity works. It allows us to perform just 4 of the numerous string manipulation methods we have in one single or in a single activity. Next, we look at the text to the left. Let me copy my string. We look at the text to left and right. Text to left/right. This is naturally again as automation and RPA as a string. Now our separator, we can choose what character to be a separator. So that is the character that we would use to split our string into the 2 individual parts. So if you also allude on this to one of these methods we talked about yesterday, you can see that it's similar or it's just the same thing as the .split method. But then instead of allowing us to split into a collection or into an array of words, we're just splitting into two separate halves or 2 separate parts and storing them in variables in this case. So now our separator would be the ampersand sign. That's our separator. And then we can choose where we want to save our text. So we can save this to output, save left to output, and then save right to new variable output to. So we can now, in our message box, choose to display on the left have outputs, and on the right have output 2. So let's run that and see exactly what happens. We can see that we have indeed split the initial string, which was automation and RPA, into this first one, or this first part automation, and the second part RPA based on our separator, which in this case is the ampersand sign. So that's on the 2 activities that allows us to perform string modification instead of using code. Is that clear with everyone? Does everyone understand what just happened now?
Hello, sir. Can you please explain one more time again?
Hello? Hello? Okay, I can't hear any.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Zion.
Okay, Mr. Sire, please, could you please explain one more time again? I'm finding a little bit of it confusing.
So I said that the modified text activity, or these 2 activities, allow us to perform string manipulation without using code. So it's like an amalgamation of some of those methods we looked at yesterday. And we looked at, we demonstrated each of them, looked at the modified text activity, and we noticed, or we saw that it can perform 4 functions or 4 methods, which are to find and replace. So we can choose to find a substring, that is a smaller string, in a much larger string, and then replace it with something else. Likewise, we can choose to combine text, which in other words is concatenation. So that's the same thing as the string.concat method we saw yesterday. And that combines 2 individual strings, or 2 or more individual strings, basically, into one. Then look at the trim. The trim method is to clear off white space at the beginning or end of the text. So we have extra space that we want to clear, because it would probably impair some processes we are building. We use the trim method to remove those excess white spaces. And lastly, we have the to uppercase or lowercase, which, as the name would imply, converts the whole string into its uppercase or lowercase equivalent. So it converts every character in the string, or every letter in the string now, to lowercase or uppercase. Then the second activity was the text to left/right activity, which would split a string based on a specified separator. So I said that was similar to the .split method, but in this case, rather than splitting it into multiple substrings and storing a collection, this only splits it into 2 substrings. So you only get the substring at the left of the separator and the one at the right of the separator, and then you can choose to use those pieces of data in other parts of our process along the line. Now there are 2 activities now that you would now also perform, and you quickly run the activities, and that would bring an end, or not an end really, but that would conclude the first part of the string manipulation topic. This exercise is classroom exercise. I want to demonstrate how to use the substring splits. And actually, should we do this again for those? Because I think we did something like this yesterday. So let's get the class's opinion on if we should once again do this automation, or should just continue with the next item on the itinerary.
Let's do it, please.
Sorry?
Let's do it.
So let's do it again.
Okay. Most of us want to do it again, so we'll go with general consensus. Now, the activity states demonstrate how to use substring, concat, split, and format, split, format, and replace methods to manipulate strings. Like, use the initial text. I live in Norfolk in England. It's a great place for extraction. So this is our initial input. I will just copy this. And where is it? Studio. This time I want to use a variable. I want to store it in a variable. Sign. I'll create my variable here. Call it input string, then assign the whole string to it. Okay. Next step is you want to use another assign activity. And that's an activity. I can
You need
just
to remove one of the, you need to remove one of the quotes.
sorry?
You
Oh,
need to remove one
okay.
of the quotes.
Thank you very much. Put here. Hmm. No. Oh, England. This, this. This is a string now. Now we want to use another as an activity, and now we want to extract the city name. So another assign, and we can create a variable here again of type string and call it city name. And we want to extract the city name from this. So if you remember, which of these methods would we use to extract something? We would use a substring or the dot substring method to extract characters or extract smaller strings from a much larger string. So we would call this with the code input string dot substring. And if you remember, substring has two parameters, one compulsory and one that's not compulsory. The first one, which is compulsory, tells us where you want to start based on a 0 index. So let's go back to our string now and then look for where exactly is the city name starts from. So city name, I would guess city name is Norfolk. So we want to locate the position of the first letter in Norfolk, which if you are counting based on the 0 index, we have I as 0, then space 1, L is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's count that again. This is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's the N is at index 10. And then the length of the city is 7. That means in our substring method, you would use our first parameter as 10, second parameter as 7. So that assigns that extracts the city name from this whole string and stores it in this variable. So here in the PDF, they also used the substring method, but then they use something different. So they use the initial text dot last index of Norfolk. The dot last index of returns returns the index or the last position where you can find the item we are looking for, we are searching for. So in this case, the last index of just look in the whole string and then look at the position of where n is, because it considers the whole word Norfolk as one, and then works based on the first character. So it should also return, or it should return an index of 10, and yeah, index of 10. But then they did not specify the length of the what's it called, of the string. So if we did this now, it would have extracted everything from Norfolk to the end of the string. So that would have given us Norfolk is Norfolk County in England, a great place to visit. Now the next thing we want to do now is we want to concat. We want to concat as we want to add this new string. Thank you for showing interest in Turing to the city name. So let's now display a message box and then put the first string there. That's city name. So if we quickly run that, let's look at what's the output. Thank you for showing interest in Turing Norfolk. You can see that we actually extracted this city name specifically from the whole input string. And then we can see that we have concatenated the two strings together. Then next thing we want to do now is insert an input dialog activity below the message box and enter the text, is your budget, and title, what is your tour budget, in label, and store this in a variable called result of type string. So input dialog, title is projects. Okay. Projects. The label is what is your budget. Yeah. The tour budget. Then the value of type string also, and you want to name the output results. Let's check if it's of type string. Yes, it's also of type string. Then insert an assign activity below the input dialog activity, and then we use the string.format method. So assign I want to assign our create a variable here now, odd message, which would be assigned the string that results from this function, string dot format with this, and put the format string, which is in this case 0 is 2 1. And then we will be assigning the budget. Rather the results. And then the city name. Then another assign activity below the previous one. We want to create a new variable and then assign it to the value of the code message or split first dot to string. Assign again. Variable here, first sentence. I want to assign it to message. That's good. Let's splitting with a full stop. Okay, what this should do is now split the string message with the separator being the full stop, and then from the resulting array, it would get the first thing and then convert that to string in the first sentence. Let's see the outputs there. Let's also put message box, and you can see what's in message. Okay, so let's run that and see what happens. You can see, okay, from the first time, thank you for showing interest in Turing Norfolk. Next thing we see is the input dialog. It says, what is your tour budget? If we enter something like 40,000. 40,000. Let's put the currency there. and then press OK. And then you should see that 40,000 is too low to go to Norfolk. And okay, we get the same thing again, and that's because in the splits method we use now, there is no full stop there, so there's nothing to split. If we change our separator in this case now to say the letter O, the O now. Let's try that again. Let's run this quickly. Okay, this budgets. Let's increase our budget again and see what they tell us. Still too low. And then we can see that we have split the whole string from the first O. And we have 40,000 is C. So I mean that demonstrates how to use each of these methods so far on manipulating strings. So okay, we're not done actually. The message box again, activity, message box activity. So another message box again, message box. That tells us what first sentence that replace low good to replace Norfolk Cornwall. Let's see what that would do. Maybe you can all imagine what that will do now. But yes. Yes. As you can see, let me open it. You can see that we can actually cascade these methods onto each other. So we are calling dot replace twice on the same line. So in your file making code, you don't have to create new assign activities just to perform different manipulation methods. You can do it in the same line of code. Now I think that is what it asked us to do. Let's run again this time. Let's run it. Thank you for that. What's the total budget this time? $120, $50. It should be too low. So that is too low to go to Norfolk. Let's split it again. But 50 is okay. So I've seen, yeah, we're meant to change this splits thing. Put it back to this, and then run one more time. So now I should get coherent sentences out of everything that should come. Thank you for showing interest in towering Norfolk. Okay. Your top budget $50. Just $50 to look for to Norfolk. But $50 is too good to go to Cornwall. So we replaced the two substrings, low and Norfolk, with good and Cornwall. So I hope everyone was able to build along that, and we have now gained to an extent more knowledge on the string manipulation methods that we have in, but not all, but it's a knowledge on some of the string manipulation methods we have on UiPath. Okay, and that's done. There's also another activity in the PDF for you guys to work on in your own time. So use it as practice exercise that uses other methods now. So doing that to help you also gain more insights into how these methods are used, what you can use them to do. Now, and that is the end of the first part on string manipulation. Now, while manipulating strings, UiPath also provides another tool that you can use to perform modifications or manipulations on string, and it's called regular expressions. Regular expressions is a specific search pattern that we can use to easily match, locate, and manage text. Now, you might be wondering, since we're just going to locate, I can't use any of those previous methods. Now, this regular expression allows us to just identify more complex expressions in a string, or more complex text in a string, rather than using our previous methods would have caused much trouble to when identifying those complex texts. But this regex, or regular expression builder, regular expressions now allow us to create activities and sequences that would easily work with data that is much more complex for basic string manipulation methods to work with. And the regex builder simplifies, or UiPath provides a regex builder. Regex is regular expression. The regex builder for us to simplify the creation of regular expressions. And this regex builder is also useful in working with selectors, because it can enable us to identify multiple target elements with just a single search execution. So we can create a regular expression that would allow us to target multiple selectors, multiple elements with just one search. So when they are all follow a single or follow the same complex pattern, we can use our regular expression to fine-tune our selector so that to work with any and all of those elements. Lastly, you can use the regex for input validation, that is for confirming inputs of the specified type we want. So that is important in things like form filling and other fields which you might come across. And you can use it to perform string parsing, which is converting other objects into strings, and then data scraping and string manipulation also. And the regex builder has three main activities which we can perform with it. And the activities are: you replace matches and its match. The replace activity allows us to replace strings that match our regular expression pattern with a specified replacement string. So we can take, for example, we can, in the process of trying to I say, trying to extract, not extract for now, replace. Let's think of a real life use case for this replace. So where we have, take for example, let's say not damaged, but a corrupted file that's a file has been corrupted in a certain format. Now maybe files now we have changed, like a virus, for example, has changed something to change our file into a certain pattern. Just giving an example, which might obviously not apply in all situations. So you can use the replace method now to go through any file that, for example, has those errors, and then use our replace method after creating a regular expression for those errors. Creating a regular expression that matches the pattern of those errors, we can use this replace string now to specify replacements and then remove all those error-filled strings with the proper or with a suitable replacement that we have determined. Next, we have the matches activity. The matches searches a string and returns all the matches. Okay, let me rephrase that. It searches a string for another string or for another substring, and then returns all the successful matches in that initial string. So we can search a string for maybe the word in, with the matches, and then the matches will return all the places where we have the word in. Or and I think a more useful example, a more real life scenario example is maybe you have a large document and you want to extract only phone numbers from the document, and the document is not in a structured pattern, or we can, in a structured form where we can use data scraping and the likes. You will have to use our matches to create the regular expression for the numbers, and then the regex builder would retrieve all phone numbers from the file or from the whole string. Lastly, we have the isMatch activity, which indicates whether a specified regular expression finds a match in the specified input string. This is more useful in input validation now, where we want to check if the specified input is of the formats we want. So if you have noticed, an example, if you have noticed on websites when you're trying to create your account, they only allow some websites only allow a specific type of email address. So you can only maybe allow only Gmail and Yahoo Mail and popular ones. So things like that are done with the regex isMatch method activity rather. We would have had to specify a regular expression for the whole email, and then use that expression to validate any input that is being made to that process. So as I said, the regex builder has these three activities, which performs the functions I have just said. So the regex builder also has its wizard. So like as we had the screen screen recording wizard and data scraping wizard. We have the regex builder wizard, which is the process of building our regular expressions that we want to use for any of the activities we just talked about. The regex builder wizard has 3 parts. Has 3 parts. The text, and this is an example. This is where we can create an example, put an example of the text you want to create the expression for. And then UiPath would, use its algorithms to parse that text or extract a regular expression from that text and create that for us. We can also use it to test if any of our regular expressions now would work as expected on that piece of text. So where we have created expressions by ourselves and we want to see if they would actually work as planned, we can use the test texts field. Now we also have a field for type, values, and quantifiers. Now these are filters or other filters, but features that we can use to specify or create regular expressions. Now the type field or type feature allows us to search for a given text or expression from many expressions. The value allows us to value contains the exact text that we want to retrieve. So if you want to retrieve something specifically, you would have to use the value. While type, I guess, as I said, will allow us to check for that or a specified text or expression from many expressions. And lastly, you have the quantifier. The quantifier is a drop-down list that enables the user to select the type of result that they would want to display. And the last part of the regex builder is the full expression. This would basically just display the whole regular expression we have created in its raw form. So it will do that in the form which the robot now will understand. Each of these things, yes, each of these things have their own, I'll not say uses, but then each of these things have their own. Sorry, hold on. I need to do something. It's my laptop. Okay, sorry for that break in transmission. Again, I was saying that each of these parts have their own functions, which you would use, or which we would down demonstrate in the UiPath studio environment. If we let's head back to our studio and let's create a new sequence. We'd want to use, let's call it regular expressions. Of our sequence. Now to access our regex builder, we have to first of all list one of those three activities that we talked about earlier. So either the replace is match or matches. Let's use replace. Then you should see it under programming string. Now we can configure a regular expression. So that would take us to the regex builder. And we can see the three sets or the three parts of the regex builder: the text, the type. Now this regex is actually type and value and then quantifier. So these three things allow us to build custom, well, not custom, but custom regex expressions from scratch. And then we have the full expression, which would actually show us what we have actually created. Under the type, now we have some things in our drop down menu. These things have their own meaning. So literal means checking for a set of characters or a string. Digit is number. One of means checking for one of something. Likewise, not one of is the opposite of that. So check if it's not part of something. Then anything, any word character, white space. Any word character means any word that it reads is a valid match. Then starts with, we can specify what it should start with, what the word or what the expression should end with. Then we have advanced ones. So advanced is for people that want to create more custom regular expressions that any of these and they can allow them to customize their own regular expression beyond any of these things in the drop-down menu if the need arises. And next we have the email. It allows us to check for, this is a custom regex for emails. So it allows us to check our test string and see if there's an email there. Then URL is for URLs, so websites and links. Then US dates, so that's dates according to US standard and US phone numbers. Now we can use one or a combination of all these regex types in creating our own specific regular expressions. We can combine digits and then you can change the quantifier from either exactly. So exactly means it should match. You'd match the exact pattern or the exact expression we have specified. Any means it should at least have, or means it can be 0 or more. At least one should have at least one thing that would match that expression. 0 and 1 means only 0 and 1 matches then between x and y, where you can specify the number of times you should have the expression match. Let me use any, and then we can choose to add more now. So that's how we can combine multiple of these regular expressions into one specified or one more specialized expression that would handle whatever case you need. The whole area of applying regular expressions or not, I won't call it tricky, but it's not as easy as most of the other parts in using UiPath Studio. And for that, there are tools which we can use to configure regular expressions that we would like to, or where we can use to test regular expressions that we would like to create. So an example of one of those tools is this website, regx101.com. This website allows us to build or allows us to test regular expressions and see how they would work. And it also shows us or gives us more details on regular expressions for people who don't have or who are not, let's say, super proficient in creating regular expressions. As you can see, it has some similarities to the regex builder. It has its own regular expression parts here, where we can set some flags and then enter our expression here and also test. You can use any of these two things, and you can use this regex builder and other countless resources which I believe are on the internet. Just have to look for it, or we can use the custom regex builder, which is more, it's more specialized than the one I showed you before.
Sir, on the test, I think the expression you are trying to you're writing to verify, you can put it there, and this regular expression can test it for you to see the one that pass, Abi?
Yes, you can put your text there, and then
maybe selecting a mail. If you select a mail now, we can type maybe a length of some you can just type some things and put some mails in between, and then you can identify the mails is there, Abi?
Yes,
okay,
can do that. So thankfully there is an email shortcut. So you can imagine having to write something like this now from scratch in your head if you do not have this, you don't have tools like this. So this is regular expression for locating emails in text,
or in a book, or in a sentence,
or in any string, any long string. So we can, for example, the string "Today is a very good day."
And my first email is this. Email this.
Some food and did and sent some emails. Sent emails to, I can put any email there, like RPA at, let's call it, let's just say at UiPath.com. So you can see that now that email has been colored. So that means it has detected an email at this point.
Yeah.
And you can also do other things like that. And so you can see that you can also, it extracts or it locates emails very well. But then in some cases, you might need to, I guess, perform some adjustments. So I guess that will be from the string itself, not from the regex builder. One adjustments to now determine how you want to look for the email addresses and what you want to use the email address for. So you can, I guess, we can all see in action. You can see how the regex builder, works. We see in action. It's an example.
So sorry, which regular expression can you use to identify a phone number?
So phone number. Now
Yes,
we can. UiPath now does not provide any. There's one for US phone number, but let's say now you're Nigerian, so we want to identify Nigerian phone number. Right. So a Nigerian phone number now should be a digit, more or less. But then now you would also have to change one or two things based on how we know Nigerian number should be. So we know number should be either 080 something 090 or 070. Now you would need to adjust each of these things, and then in fact, I don't think I can do that from my. I can't say that. Who's talking?
Sorry, I saw one expression that said starts with. Can't you use that to make a number, like a Nigerian phone number? So you can put the like 080.
So yeah, you can use start with, and make sure it starts with 0809. Where it starts with.
Maybe start with just 234.
Starts with, and then add. The next thing is to add now starts with what digit? So starts with exactly, or see digits, which is I want to use 2 digits because I want to check if it starts between 0. That's between 0 and, okay, so it starts with 0 actually. Starts with 0, exactly 1. So exactly 1. Start with this, and you should start with 0. So you have to start with 0 now. That's the first part. Then I think you would now need to add subsequent ones, which would also be of type digits. And then you can say it should be any or, this is any number. at least one of, nope. So the whole any should be any of any, should be any. And then we would now zero. Sorry. So this whole process is not an art. It's something that actually, as I said, is one of the most tricky things in UiPath to do. So let's actually hold off for looking on on all exact Nigerian numbers. Let's look for a specific type of Nigerian number. So that would be one that starts with 0. I just say numbers that start from 080. So 0 exactly. And then, or we can just use this here. So you have to start with 08 something in the first place. So now we have 08. So anything that has 08 now would get that even if it's not correct. So that we can check that in that's with 0, 0. Okay, it's not tagging exactly.
The start with that you use the first line, first expression, is it not? I've not seen it because the start with is the first one. The second one is digits. Are they connected together? I thought there should be a number for that start with, which is the first one.
So the start with just tells of, or it specifies that this thing has to be at the beginning of the, or specifies that the next thing has to be at the beginning of the whole string, of the whole substring. Sorry?
I said, does it not have its own quantifier like that?
There's no. You can see that on the start with that there's no quantifier field. So it just tells us that this should be the beginning of the string. Okay, so let's try using that tool, which I said provides or allows us to create regular expressions. So I think most people will find using tools like this much easier because, as I said, they offer more functionalities, I guess, or it's more easy to use. Now let's check again for phone numbers now. So let's use our start with, so want to start our string again. Okay. So we want to start this, but then we don't start with the string actually. So we want to start here, and then next we want to check for initial. Any digits, not any digits, any digits. Okay. Is this start? This is stats, and then I have something like this. Sales position slash just case sensitive. Just 0. Checking our first 0, then checking the next. Okay. Next digits. Next set of digits. It's now we want to check digits that is in between. So we'd use any of this now to check digit that is in between these characters. So now we can put our square bracket there. And you want to check for either 7, 8, or 9. Right, so that's, and then check for how many, the number has how many digits. The number has 11, so allow for 11 random other digits. So what is the regex expression for 11 digits? Exactly 3 of A. So I'll do this. Okay, 8 of 3. I think I'll now need to put this and then my curly brace. So we already have 2, so I'll leave us with 9. 9 more things. So now this should be, and this should work as the regex for a phone number. If I say 0802121212, so you can see that we have matched that phone number now. So this is how the regex for a phone number would look like. I think it was George that asked. So you can see that this, and now we can now from here copy it and then use it in our UiPath Studio. So I can just clear this. Exactly 8 digits, exactly 9. So what do you do there again? Sorry. This.
We can't copy from the site.
Now we can't. You can't actually. I don't think you can paste, but there should be. It should be a way to. Okay, I think we can do that if we because we are working with these preset ones. We can't edit the preset ones, but then maybe I said if we want advanced, you can type your own regex expression in the advanced. So this is now, we can now paste our own expression here. And then let's see if it should identify a phone number now. So 80223 something.
They start with,
sorry?
They start with, are we supposed to remove it?
No, I don't. Okay, okay, yeah, this format starts with, thank you for that. And still not checking for 0. 4 and 7, 8, 9 digits. 9 digits, and okay, you're not working.
You have a 12 digit there now.
Yeah, but it should
The 12
it
digit.
to identify the 9. Identify the what you call the 9. Sorry, the 11 digits there, and then
Your quantifier, exactly.
actually it should not even be any quantifier there because we're not using. It should be exactly.
I'm not using it again.
But let's leave it on exactly because I want to match this exact. I want them to match this exact pattern. 7, 8, 9, 9. So let me try something again. I try building it from scratch with the UI with the regex builder here. So we want first digits. That's only 0 digits. So that's not it. Let's see what they have in the US phone number actually, and let's see. So they have 0 to 9. This. So this is the whole lot of stuff. And then because we have seen how to this regex builder. We have seen how it would work. Looking at this, and we saw the example of working with emails. How emails are much. Because already have a predefined what's it called, regex format or regex in the builder. So I guess I would leave it to us or most of us to
Do more research.
do research, but then this, let me try one more thing again. Let me try putting numbers there. So let's see if that's the issue with this. Let me clear the whole thing. So it's still not getting the number. So as I said, it's not a science, it's more of an art, and there are tools on the internet. So you can actually just search for regex for regex generator actually. So things like this now would make all these things much easier. So it's not something you have to remember. But then what you should know is you should know how and each of these basic types here work. Like you know that literal checks for characters, so A, B, or C can specify what characters to check for, and digit checks for numbers. One of checks for one of a certain character. One of a set of characters rather. Not one of checks if it's not part of this. So you need to look further into this regex builder wizard and see how each of these predefined types work. Let's quickly try to create one for phone number again. So let's see, 080, 802, 345, 7, 9. This is the text. What is the regex? Okay. Well, as I said, it's not something that you need to do more research of on your own in the whole process. And it's not something you might not get it right at once. So it's you making best use of all these other tools now that we have on the internet, and there are about. Okay, so that's it. I think that's the rundown of the regex builder wizard and how or what parts and how it works. Check for things like this. So you might, and then again, I guess likewise last time when we copied that number thing from this website, there'll be other times when you would try to create this, or you have your exact code, or you have your exact regex expression. And even though it would work here, it might not work first time in the studio. You might need to try multiple types. So try getting your regex expression from different sources now. Let me try this again now. So let me close, then do it again, and then paste. Let's see if it will work this time. Type number 090 to this. So that now it's working. That's the regex which we did. So sometimes you might have the expression to not work first time. So we might have to perform, I guess, little adjustments to suit whatever goals, whatever things you will need to work on, or whatever string you need to identify. If let's going back to our PDF. You looked at the parts of the regex builder, and now there is another exercise again that would allow us to demonstrate, or would allow us to practicalize now how to work with the regex builder. Demonstrate how to use the regex builder to extract email IDs from a text. Use the text. My name is Joe. My email is this. My father's email is that. My uncle's email is this for extraction, and then extract the email IDs from the text using the regex builder wizard. Store the email IDs in an MS Word file. Okay, let's quickly do this. Then I guess it'll be time for our break. Then. So let's all. Yes, if you want to, let's watch first, then build on our own. And if you want to build and follow, that's fine too. So next thing is insert and assign activity, designer panel, press Ctrl K. Okay, I'm going to be using matches. complete this. The first step is to insert assign. Assign, and once assign message to our texts. What are texts? My name is Joe, and all those other things we said. So we copy that, paste. And nine. Okay. So this is our input string. Then the next thing is to check for insert a matches activity, load assign, configure regular expressions with the matches activity. Insert matches. And then go to our regex builder. And then we want to extract emails. So we would go to email and then set our quantifier to any. And save. So that is this. Now for us to now apply this regular expression or this activity on our previous message, have to go to the properties panel and then pass in our variable as the input. So that's message as our input. And then for our result, you can create a variable here. And let's call it results. And results should be of type array or list. So it should be a collection. It's not really an array, it's a collection of regular expression matches. So it's another type. System.collections.generic, i.e. variable system regular expressions match. So you have to create that variable type for us. Now the next thing is to use a for each activity, right? For each activity, item, and then email IDs. So item in results. We want to now, after that, write line and write line to string. So we want to write line. Then we'll use one of our methods as for string conversion now. So do item dot to string. And we can now run a file and should see on the output panel a list of all the emails, or you see those individual emails printed one by one on our right line. So you can see the three mails: Joe at mail, Jack at mail, and Jay at mail. And I think that's the end of the automation. And it's a practice exercise which you would also have to do on your own in your own free time. And I guess practice, as the name would say, practice on regular expression, how to use or build new expressions that we would use for whatever needs we may have. All right, so Not that we have done that, so I guess people are still building. It's almost time for our break, so we can all go for break, and then in the tradition of our previous classes, yesterday and on Monday, we also have another test again after our break for 10 minutes. So we will meet by 9, and if anyone that still has questions, let me see. I think there's a message in the chat.
And the test will be under which module today?
The test will be under, let me confirm. Sorry, give me about a minute to look at it. It's be under variables and arguments. So you will find the questions, I said, under variables and arguments. All right. So
there's nothing there
by
for
12. And if you have questions, yeah.
So there is nothing there for now.
Yeah, you will see it out. Yeah, I would post the module now.
All right.
Now, so
okay, thank you, sir.
you will see it just refresh on web page. So Gus first said, what if you're looking at a phone number that starts with 234? If you have something like 234 now, we would have had to change our regular expression. So rather than check the first character for the number 0, you check our first character for the plus sign. So for the character, let's actually try and build that one also. Let's left this chat and post it in the chat. You can use it in. You want to start. Start with the character. Start with plus. Then 234. 234 is digits, not any digits. 2, 3, and 4. It should now be matching the exactly 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're trying to match digits. I should use a character in this case. Character in between. Nope. I'm not doing this single character. Not really. Okay. So let me undo that. Plus, okay, wrong sign. Plus, and want to get 2, 3, 4, which is a digit. Want to get exactly those 3 digits. So, which is exactly expand this.
So are we on break now?
Yes, yeah, I'm break. Let me post the quiz module, so you should be able to see it any moment from now.
So, please, on our own, can we be going through those practice tests that is under each of the course?
Yes, you can do that on your own. It's open for us. That one is open for use at any time. So even now, anytime you want to practice on any topic, you can use those practice questions.
All right, sir. Thank you.
One, two, three, or four. What am I supposed to use? Okay. 2, 3, 4. So now this is plus 2, 3, 4, and then we would have, we now have the previous things we saw about 8, 9, 7, 8, 9, 7, 8, 9. Then 7, 8, 9, then it 0 or 1 now. Then the rest can be any 8 digits. That's 8. Let's see if I do plus 2, 2. Not much. I'm gonna do this instead. Plus 2, 3, 4. Just the character index plus 2, 3, 4. Okay. Link token is not quantifiable. Okay. Okay. Now I have to check for a plus. I have to check for plus.
If you, what is it?
This would be plus. There you have it.
Sorry, sir. Please, where did you say we'll find the test?
Under variables and arguments.
Okay, thank you.
So this is the test. This is the test here. Chisum Okoro, your hand is up. Do you need anything from me?
I've started my test too.
Okay, then. Sure. So everyone, it's 9 o'clock. So the test will be open now for us to start.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Yeah, the test is under which topic?
Variables and argument.
Hello. Yeah, this one is 10 questions tonight.
Yes, 10 questions for 15 minutes.
But I already finished it safe.
Oh, wow. Big cheap.
Like a compensation for me.
That's good. Swing. That's good. You've gotten your revenge on the previous test.
Hello, sir. Are you still there?
Yes, I am.
I just finished my quiz.
Mm-hmm.
One of the
Okay.
problems I've been having with the quiz is that sometimes the should I say the grammatical expression sometimes is a bit confusing because most times I find out at the end of the quiz that I know this answer, but how the I don't know the choice of words are used there is somehow ambiguous.
Hmm.
Just
Most
for
of these
example,
words. Sorry?
For example, in my question 3 that says scenario, you have been given the task to send the current date value outside of an invoked workflow. Now, that outside of an, I don't know, it might just be me. I don't know, it could be other people. I'm just talking about myself. That outside of a workflow, I'm envisioning it as that there are two workflow and you are sending a data outside of this workflow. So of course, I had conflicting interest that it could be in current date and out current date. But then, since it's going out of a workflow, then for the receiving end, it could be in because I don't know. This is not the first time I'm having something confusing.
I think some people are still writing. I think we should, if
So
we want to review, we should review after the test now.
let's wait for them to finish before we look at that. I've heard your complaint, Kira,
Yeah.
before we talk about that. Let's try to finish 2 more minutes before the test closes. So, right about now, I should be rounding up with our test. Okay, let's give it 2 more minutes, then As you can talk about the test for time, patterns and reactions to the test. And then we'll continue with the rest of our classes. Emmanuel said he could not do the test. So I don't know why you couldn't do Emmanuel because the test was on the LMS, and I guess we all know the test was posted. So what reason did you now have for not doing the test? Okay, so like, shall we done with test now? So, and Kieran, you were saying something about the language of the tests being ambiguous. Now, these questions, or it's most of them, were extracted from previous exams, which other people have written, obviously. So if UiPath test the questions that way, I'm not sure we can say that it's ambiguous. I'm looking at the question you said. The question is something about if you want to pass data from an invoked workflow. Kieran, can you read the question? Can you put the question in the chat?
I should put it in the chat.
Yes. Let's see.
Because initially I selected the second option, which was out, but it just kept confusing, and I switched it and I filled it at the last in the end.
Sorry about that. Let's see. I said, this question, I don't think they are that ambiguous. Okay, David scored it. Congratulations, David. You have been given the task to send a current date value outside of an invoked workflow. What's the good name for the arguments? Well, so what I understand from this is that you want to send the date value out of our invoked workflow. So I guess in my head it should be out. Because anything it's outside of the workflow you invoke. And by argument, I used to send data between workflows. So to me, doesn't seem that vague. But then let's also consult the other classmates. Yes, my own view will not might be bad, not bad, but my own view is more. My view is different because I've been through all this, so I know how these questions work. But then other people, so let me call someone like Esco Benga. Looking at this question now, do you feel like it's too vague? Guess not talking. Oh, Kieran, what I would say is that I know time is, but time could also be another aspect. I would not.
Time wasn't time. I had like 5 extra minutes remaining. It wasn't time. I had 5 extra minutes remaining.
This maybe it's not time, but then I feel like we should also, or not only, but everyone else should also let's try their best to pick apart the question. Because there's always key pieces of information in every question that will point you in the direction of your answer. Now, so you can see there is the key info in this one that you're sending the date value, sending it out of something. So that should apply.
True. I thought it was just too easy to be true for the answer to be just there. And I was also, in my defense, thinking of the receiving end, which usually is in.
Yeah, so the receiving end, but that would be now you are asked to retrieve data from an invoked workflow. So you can see how the grammar would have changed if we are now taking it in. So you have been given the task to extract or to retrieve data from an invoked workflow.
Sorry, sir, our questions, are they different, or we answered the same questions?
They are different.
They are different.
Yes.
Oh.
There are different questions for everyone. So it's random. That's extracted, or the module does extract 10 random questions for each person.
Okay.
I mean, most people can or would have the same test questions, likely. And it's possible, but unlikely. So now that we are done with our tests, let's continue. I hope you all enjoyed. I guess we all performed to our satisfaction. And if you feel like you can or you could have done better.
But I'm thinking on these tests, we're supposed to be having 100 over 100, at least for us to be preparing for the exam. But if you're having below 100, are we on the right track still?
100, 10 over 10. Having below 100,
yeah, 10
you are
over
passing, so you're on the right track. But I get what you're saying, that you want to be extra prepared. So in case the day of the exam comes, you have some, let's say you have some space to fall back on. But you scoring 80, you scoring 90, you scoring 100 is on the right track. 70 means you need to put in some extra work. Getting below 70, definitely you need to put in extra work. We are getting 70% should, try to add more effort so you can comfortably be in the 90s. So I think 90 is a good spot to feel comfortable in, because then even if come the exam day, maybe something happened there, I don't direct it to mind. At least worst case scenario, you should just fall to 70, and that is still a pass. So 90 is where you aim to be in the test. But then anything above 70 is still progress.
Sir, please, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Two actually. So one, on the real questions, that's the exam. Is it 100 questions, or would it be 10 and then calculated as one?
So the exam, it depends on the exam. Is also similar to what the test we've been doing. How people will be having different questions. So you also have, but this time you also have different numbers of questions. So you might have 40, and you might have about 40. But I think last year and last 2 years, the range of the questions were in between, for associate now, was in between 40 to 50. So you can expect 40, 50 questions, and you should do it in 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Oh, that's ample time. And for my second question, please, after these our trainings, that's our first, I think, orchestration is the last. Are we going to have maybe a week off to prepare, or is it just going to be immediately?
Right? Yeah, you have a week off. Yeah, a week off to prepare, and during that week off, you'll be you'll be solving past questions in class. So if during that time you are ready enough, you can take your exam and and be done with this part of UiPath RPA training, then you move to advanced. But after you're done in orchestrator, have a week off for people to take exams and people to practice for exams. And I guess just to refresh, if you want to refresh everything that you have done so far.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yeah. Then Robert.
Sir, please, I have a question. Sorry, sir.
Yeah. Good evening, sir.
Please raise your
Yes,
hand
sir.
if you want to. Yeah, Robert, raise your hand if you want to ask a question. Robert, yes, Robert.
I feel like some answers would answer are correct, but the software will mark us wrong. Let me give an instance. There was this question on let me get it real quick. Okay, it said identify the missing word in the following sentence within the context of UiPath Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So it says dash are data structures consisting of objects of the same data type.
Mm-hmm.
Each object has a fixed position in the list, thus it can be accessed by index.
Mm-hmm.
Allows us to add. So that is it. And I remember us talking about data structures being arrays.
Mm-hmm.
I picked arrays and it failed me.
So there are other data structures or other data collection types. Like I think I talked about arrays, lists, dictionaries. Now, arrays and lists are similar, but the key difference there now is that you can add more things to lists, or you cannot add to arrays. And in the question, I think it's sort of like add there, right?
Yes.
So that is the key difference in arrays and lists. Was the answer lists? Or the expectation has to be lists, not arrays.
Yes, actually it is.
Yeah, so that is I told you the questions will have some key piece of information that will direct you towards the answer. So it was that keyword of adding and deleting things that separates or that differentiates an array from a list. And Titus.
Yes, sir. So my question is, some questions that you will see like in UiPath Academy, you will see that the options are up to 6, and you are expected to pick, you are expected to pick like 3 or 4 correct ones. Yes,
Okay.
you are expected to pick like. But I want to ask in the real question in this the high mark the advanced the associate exam that we are going to write. Is this going to be like that you are expected to pick like the option is going to be like up to 6 or 7, or is it going to be like normal 4?
There are questions like that also where you have to pick multiple answers. So maybe from a set of 5 or more, I have to pick 2 correct answers from them. So there are things like that in the real exam too. So okay, then Dami, before we continue class. Good evening, Dami. Can you talk louder? Can't hear you very well.
Hi, Paul Mausla.
A bit louder.
Yes, I was going to talk about the data structure the Robert talked about. Like that same question was marked wrong because I chose array, and going to the key point there that a data. I mean, I've forgotten how the question was actually, but I pointed out the key something that the data type. Of course, I know that arrays hold data type, same as list, just that list can combine different data type in one, what's it called, column, like that. but array can only hold values of the same data type at once. It cannot mix them together, right? And I think in array, you can also push or pop. That's the way of adding
So I guess you're talking from experience
or
in
removing
other
from
in other programming
using
languages.
push or pop. What? I didn't get that.
So I guess you're talking from your experience in other programming languages. Am I right? But you're talking in context of where you use
Like
the UI.
we can use the same function in UiPath.
Your voice is breaking, damn.
I said we can use the same function in UiPath. That's the push, the pop. That's the means of adding to an array or deleting from an array.
Well, in UiPath now, as I said, you cannot add to arrays.
I can't hear you. You're breaking.
Elements to array. That's why that is what I mean. And if you check, so let's check the documentation.
Sorry, sir. I
Array,
didn't get.
just to clear our doubt.
Sorry, sir. I didn't get the question. I didn't get the. I wasn't given the question, but from what I learned from the UiPath, both list and array can only take the same data type. Cannot take different data types. The only difference is just that arrays are fixed.
Cannot be added.
Cannot take extra.
That's why I told Danny and wanted to take your feature documentation because Danny said we could use things like pop and push. I mean, I've not heard of pop and push in the context of UiPath. I know I've heard about pop and push in other programming languages, but in UiPath now I have not seen pop push. I think pop and push is in JavaScript, if I'm not mistaken. So Dami, what I would say is let's check the documentation to confirm and assuage any or clear any doubts. Arrays. Okay, they don't essentially have arrays, but then as Binga said, and as I said also, arrays can't have new elements added to them after you have initialized them to certain elements. Unlike lists, and both of them only take the same type of, both of them can only hold one type of data structure, or data type. Let's create a list now. Let's look for a list. We see that even in list 2, we have to specify what type we need. So this is MS for library. And anyhow, that's something you have to look at on your own, but then, as I said, and I repeat again, at least an arrays are similar in that they both can only hold one type of data type, but then arrays, they differ and they can both be accessed by indexing. but then arrays are fixed and can only hold the same amount of data once you have initialized, while lists can have things added and removed from operations. So yes, that should have answered your question.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome. So we have looked at string manipulation and regex. We looked at regex builder and have looked at the features of the regex builder, that is the type, value, and quantifiers. As I said, you should all in your free time look in the internet on how each of these types, or each of the types in the regex builder work, what they do, how they work, and other parts.
Sorry, I don't know if it's just me, but you're breaking up.
And then
Yeah, exactly.
As in, you're seriously breaking up.
That breaking, then let's fix that now. Okay. Hello. So can you all hear me better now? Hello.
It seems better.
Seems better. Okay, so if it starts breaking again, call my attention to it. So I said we are going to now we're moving on to data table manipulation. Is modifying or working with data stored in data tables to suit whatever needs we may have, or we might have, or we might, whatever things we might desire to do on our data tables. So in previous classes, we looked at data tables and what they are. We said that data tables are in-memory representation of spreadsheets that have rows and columns to store data. And we stored data, we built data tables from scratch with the build data table activity. We also use data tables to store information from our data scraping wizard. And then during the process of what's it called, performing email automations, we also use data tables to store and print out data. Now we would go deeper We'll dive in deeper into using data tables to perform manipulations and using them to sort out our data, sort out any of our uses which might come up in the process of creating different types of workflows. Now, this is going to be like a refresher. But a data table is an in-memory representation of a single database table. It has collections and rows, and we can see an example of one here. So we can see the rows and columns and the headers and especially all the parts of a data table variable. And we have various ways of creating data tables. This is from creating or assigning values to data table variables, and some of these ways include, which I think we have done most of them before, but we can use the build data table activity that allows us to build one from scratch. It allows us to, it allows for customization of the number of columns and type of data for each column. So I think we saw that in our previous classes. You have the read range. This read range, it retrieves content, or it reads content now from a worksheet or from a spreadsheet, and then stores the read data in the data table variable. Likewise, the read CSV reads content from a CSV file and then stores it in the data table. And lastly, we have data scraping. Data scraping, which is the process of extracting structured data from an application. Once we have extracted said data, we also store it into data table. So these are some of the ways we can create data tables in UiPath Studio. And like we have seen I think we have seen 3 of these in action already. So we have seen the view data table in that's in the email automation class. We have seen the read range, which was in the Excel automation class, and then data scraping was in automation techniques and what you call it, and concepts. And this exercise just to allow us to do this. So that's something issue for those who did not easy before, you go over, and for those who still want to practice their skills, can also perform this exercise on your own. There are activities again so as you had activities for string manipulation, we have activities for data table manipulation too. So while we had just 2 activities for string manipulation, so 2 activities and methods, what we had for string manipulation. Data tables have a lot more activities that you can use compared to string. So these are, here we see 6 of the more common activities. So we have add data column. This adds a column to the existing data table variable. So it allows us to create the variable, and we can specify what data type should be held in the data column and other things like the length and header. So as you have the add data column, we also have add data row, which adds a new row to an existing data table, and the input data now is of the type data row, which can be an array or a data row type. So the input data is of data row type or array row type. And this works by matching each object with the exact data type of each column. Next thing we have is a merge data table, which combines two data tables into a single one. So it's basically just meshes the whole two data tables together without any, not without any, but with 4 basic actions that we can perform. And these actions include inner, outer, all, and as you have the inner merge that allows us to join things that only have the same, let's say same entries or have matching entries now, sorry. While outer allows us to only join things that don't have matching entries. Like you have a table on one side that has, the tables, they both have 4 rows now, but then one table has 2 empty rows, the other one has 1 empty row. So using outer, you only join those rows that don't match up. It is only those rows that have one side. I think this would be better explained with a drawing. So if you don't mind, I would open this up again. So let's take, for example, we have this as a data table objects. I have 1 and 2, I'm going to say 3, 4, so that's 5. Then we have another one again on the right, which has 5 again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now there are three join options or 3 join actions which we can perform. 3 or 4. There are 4. There are 4 join actions which we can perform on the data tables that I want to join. Now we have before our inner, it's going to be hard. Before our inner, outer, left, inner, left, full. We have, sorry, before our inner, full, left, and outer. Outer, yeah. Now, for inner, the way inner works is that when we have rows that do not meet our row, so we can define a specified row that should be used to join the 2 tables together. When we have rows that don't meet, or when we don't have rows that don't meet that row, we don't use those rows. So inner just combines the set of rows that both follow the predefined or the setup rule. While full, on the other hand, full merges the whole data table together. So regardless of if there is data here and there's no data here, it merges them together, and this is where there is no data, or places where the data entry is empty. So like, take for example, we might have, let's say this one has 6 and this one has 5 now. The full join type or full joining option now would create empty fields or null values for columns that do not have or that do not match the second table. Then we also have left. Now this left is going to keep all the rows on the left. So it's going to keep all the rows in this data table 1. While it's only copy rows now from data table 2 that's only merge rows rather from table 2 that meet the join rule. And also in cases where we now have empty rows in data table 1, but then the associating rule in data table 2 meets the rule, you also create null values. So you create empty cells now. I call it empty cells on the data table 1. Then lastly, we have the outer. The outer is like the opposite of the inner. Is it outer? I think the outer is like the opposite of the inner. So while the inner keeps all the rows that meet a value, the outer gets the rows that don't meet the defined rule. Next we have the lookup data table, which allows us to search for a provided value in a specified data table.
So those types of joins, I see like they look like the types that we have in SQL. Is it the same concepts?
I'm not familiar with SQL. I'm not sure about SQL.
Oh, okay.
No, but then yes, almost so
because the explanation looks like the same thing.
It might be similar, but because I guess all programming languages use, most programming languages use similar methods, just change their platform. So they might be similar. But then, as I said, I don't know. I'm not familiar with SQL, so I can't confirm or deny that. So then we have the lookup data table, which allows us to look or search for a specific value in a data table, and this activity returns the row index at which we found the variable. Or we can also configure it to return the value from a cell with given coordinate. So we can use this activity to either return the location of a value or return a value at a specified location. Next thing we have is filter data table, which allows us to filter data table into a more refined version. So it can help us, let's say, filter out entries that we don't want in our table based on some rule we might have in our automation development process. Then we have join data table, which is a more advanced, what's it called? Advanced activity as compared to the merge. So the merge just does more predefined actions. So join data table can also help us merge two tables together, but then we have a wider range of options in the join data table activity. Other activities we also have in this as you can see on our screen, they have the for each row, generate data table, clear data table, output data table, remove data column, remove data row, remove duplicate rows, and then source data table. So each of these things, like if you look at your PDF, you see, let's say their functions or what they perform in data tables and how we can use them to perform manipulations on data table variables. Now, because the time is what's called, time is 9:56, and we still have a lot to do. So let's call it. Let's wrap up for today at this point. So if you have any questions now is the time to ask before we close the class. Okay, so I guess we have no questions again. So at this point, let's all wish you all a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
Goodbye, guys.
Hello.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir, for today. Thank you.
Hello.
Good night, sir.
Hello,
Thank
Jeremiah.
you. It was a lot to catch up.
Sorry? What did you say, Robert?
I said it was a lot of information today, but we'll catch up.
So try to bombard you guys. No, we try to go slower tomorrow.
All right,
Okay,
thank
Jeremiah.
you so much.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
Good evening.
I've not been able to join the class from the beginning because I'm watching the recorded version. So I heard from a friend who is into this class also, who had joined this class. He told me that a test we'll be having some tests from. We have done some tests on Monday and Tuesday, but I did not attempt the test. It was only for today. I don't know if it is possible to do that test because I don't want to join the current class, because if I should join the current like today's class, because of the foundation that so I could not understand the class. So I able to do the to listen to the recorded class before listening to this current class. So I don't know if it's possible. Is there a way possible that we can attempt the test question, the quiz question?
Also, as I think I've said this also, previous tests have they have gone, so you most likely cannot attempt previous tests again. But then what you can do is attempt or do the subsequent ones. I think from today, I did today's test, right? So from today and tomorrow and until we finish the training. But then for the ones that have passed, there's no way to attempt them again. Okay, since there are no more questions, good night, everyone. Meet again tomorrow. Let's all have a good night rest and prepare for our day tomorrow. All right, guys.
Good night, sir.
Bye. Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Good night, Robert.